Welcome back in our continuing series, Race for City Hall 2013. We shine the spotlight tonight on Democratic hopeful Bill de Blasio. If the Democratic primary were held today, this is how things would shake out. Quinn, she's first with 32%. De Blasio in its second at 14%. And Bill Thompson, who we had recently on the program, he's right behind him at 13%. And you see the rest of the folks there trailing behind. But if de Blasio advances to the general, he does pretty good in a theoretical head-to-head against Joe Lhota. Our own Dominic Carter here, he spoke with de Blasio today. What'd you think?
Well, Richard, few people remember that Bill de Blasio was Hillary Clinton's successful campaign manager when she first ran for the United States Senate. Now, he also worked as one of Andrew Cuomo's top assistants at HUD in Washington, and he was elected to citywide office. He's the public advocate. Now, Bill de Blasio wants to be mayor of New York. Bill de Blasio, conventional wisdom says should Anthony Weiner run, he hurts you and the campaign of Christine Quinn. What do you think?
Well, Dominic, you've asked me many a strong political question before, so let me just say, look, I don't speculate on candidates who may or may not get into the race. Anyone who chooses to, that's great. I think what's happening now, though, is a real beginning of the focus on the mayor's race. I didn't feel that a few months ago, but now I see it. And I think particularly some of the trends I expect to see, I think folks who want a new direction from the Bloomberg years, I think they're going to assert their views here. Outer borough residents who are going to be the vast majority of this Democratic primary electorate. And I think I'm speaking to their needs, their concerns, and I feel very good about the direction of this campaign. Anyone else who wants to get in, that's fine, but I'm going to talk about where I think this city needs to go.
Mr. de Blasio, let's take a quick look at the ad that's causing a lot of trouble in this campaign.
Virtually all of Christine Quinn's decisions were made in rooms just like this, with her friends in the 1%.
You say you knew nothing about this ad, but Christine Quinn says you are directly behind it.
I gotta tell you, literally, I resent, I don't use those words lightly, I resent her making an aspersion there's absolutely no evidence for. The folks involved, a number of them were her supporters. This is the part she leaves out of the discussion. They were people who gave her large sums of money and then became profoundly disillusioned with the way she abandoned progressive values. The folks who are behind it, as have been reported, some are supporters of John Liu. I believe some are supporters of Bill Thompson. I think some are supporters of me. They have a right under the law to do this. I, as much as anyone, would like to see continued campaign finance reform, but right now these folks have a legal right to do this, and they are expressing their anger on paid sick days, on living wage, on term limits, all the things where she let down progressive values. And instead of claiming I had something to do with it when I did not, she should answer the substantive issues that have been raised in this advertisement.
Is she qualified to be mayor of New York City, in your opinion?
I think her policies are wrong for New York. I think her approach is wrong for New York. I mean, she's obviously been willing to violate the democratic process, first with the change in term limits, which, as you know, I led the opposition to in the city council. I think she made a deal with Bloomberg. One of the great backroom deals in the history of a city that's had a lot of backroom deals, took away the people's democratic rights. She did it again on paid sick days, holding up a vote for 3 years on something that would have affected 1 million people. That's not leadership to me. I think she's in the wrong place on the issues, but I also think she does things in a way that really violates the principles of our democratic process.
But, Mr. Public Advocate, backroom deals, those are very strong words.
Oh, I don't think they're particularly strong words. I think it defines exactly what happened. In the end, she made a deal with Mayor Bloomberg. And, the mayor wanted a third term, and she was willing to ignore the will of the people as expressed in 2 different referendums. And she said the other day in Brooklyn, by the way, there was a forum maybe a week or so ago in Brooklyn. And the question, it's interesting, sometimes the people think of ideas or questions that I wouldn't have, or maybe you wouldn't have, and a person in the audience said, well, all of you, if there was another referendum on whatever topic, would you, by definition, respect the outcome of the referendum? If the people have spoken, would you abide by it? All the Democrats said, yes, we would, except for Christine Quinn. She once again said, if I disagree with it, I go my own way. And she claimed that was leadership. I claim that is unwillingness to listen to the people and respect the will of the people.
Let's go back in history. Few people may remember you were Hillary Clinton's campaign manager.
Ancient history. What was that? That was 13 whole years ago.
13 years ago.
13 years.
She was First Lady at the time.
She was.
And decided she wanted to make history and go to the U.S. Senate. And you ran that entire successful campaign.
Yes.
But now let's fast forward. What are you going to do any differently than the other candidates in this race?
Well, look, I'll link it a bit to the fact that I had the honor of being her campaign manager, and I learned an immense amount in that experience. You'll remember right before that I was the regional director for the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development under the Secretary of HUD at the time, a guy named Andrew Cuomo. And I think I've had the opportunity to work very closely with some of the greatest talents in this country. And from them have learned some very clear things. We're going to have a very sharp, clear agenda for the city. A progressive agenda that's not cutting corners or trying to please everyone, but a clear, positive vision of where we need to go. That's why I'm talking about taxing the wealthiest New Yorkers so we can have early childhood education and after-school programs. That's why I'm talking about not just a partial commitment to paid sick days, but actually trying to reach each and every New Yorker we need to reach, and doing it now, not years from now. These are clear distinctions. That's why I'm willing to say I respect Ray Kelly, but we need a new police commissioner. I think one of the things I took from those experiences, and I give Hillary Clinton a lot of credit, she understands both as a moral question, but also as a question of how you connect with the people, that you got to lay down a sharp vision of where you want to go. So I've put that out there. I have to say, some of the other candidates seem to be dancing around on some of these issues or unwilling to take the bold position. I mean, obviously, Quinn, 3 years she wouldn't move paid sick days, then suddenly she wants to celebrate a compromise and a watered-down bill. Bill Thompson couldn't even decide what stance to take on paid sick days until about a month ago. Those are real differences.
It sounds like you and Christine Quinn don't really like each other.
It's not a question of personal feelings. This is someone I've worked with for over 20 years. By the way, when I first worked with her, it was when I was working for Mayor Dinkins. We were both members of a task force that was helping to put together the executive order on domestic partnership toward the end of the Dinkins administration, something I'm very, very proud of. We worked well together. We were able to work together many times in the city council to get things done, but we have very different views and very different approaches. I think, I say the backroom deal because it defines a lot of how she approaches things. That seems to be something she's very comfortable with. I prefer a more transparent style of government. Clearly, she has done the bidding of the business community on many occasions lately. Paid sick days, living wage being great examples. She opposes a tax on the wealthy. She's been willing to enable Michael Bloomberg on a host of things. Term limits is the most dramatic, but a lot of his education policies as well. I disagree fully with that. I also don't think it's the place of a legislative leader to decide to defer constantly to the executive. I think a legislative leader is supposed to create a check and balance on the executive. Nowhere was that more clear that we missed that than in the case of term limits. So we have real differences. I respect her. She's smart. She's hardworking. I respect her. But I have a very, very different approach to this work.
What is the legacy of Mayor Michael Bloomberg?
Mixed. I talk about tale of two cities in terms of where we are now. Sharp differences that we have to fix and create a unity among in this city. We can't have the rich getting richer, the poor getting poorer. It literally is happening every day in this city. We can't have some schools that work and so many others failing our kids. We can't have some communities where police-community relations are good and others are deeply troubled. That is all part of the Bloomberg legacy. But within the Bloomberg administration, there's a tale of three terms. A first one that was actually in many ways good and promising. A second one where he made the decision to change term limits, which was downright immoral. A third one where it's been a listless administration without a lot of vision, with some accomplishments. Roosevelt Island Applied Science Center is a great thing. I agree with the mayor on a lot of his public health policies and a lot of his environmental policies, but I think he's gone astray on schools. He's gotten focused on attacking teachers. He's dismissive to parents. He's obsessed with standardized testing. He's really missed the boat on schools. He has not responded to the economic crisis. He opposed paid sick days. He opposed living wage. To me, the promise of his first term never got realized.
Would you be surprised at the end of the day if Anthony Weiner is the Democratic nominee for mayor?
Dominic, you and I have known each other, I think, 15 years or more. Nothing shocks me. Nothing shocks me. So I'm not going to comment on a hypothetical, but I will say as a question of New York City life and politics, nothing shocks me.
Okay, here's what we can say, Richard. De Blasio is hammering away at Quinn. We reached out to her campaign tonight for a response, but so far, no reaction.
Of course he's hammering at Quinn. She's the front runner. She's the front runner in the polls in the general election. She's the front runner in the polls in the Democratic primary. That's who you
But
go
is he
after.
also hammering because they think that they smell blood in the water with her?
No, I really think he's hammering away at her because he doesn't like her. I mean, for this early to go after someone, I mean, it's extreme.
Dominic, they have no choice. I mean, poll after poll, she has more than a 2-to-1 lead in the polls. If they don't do it now, it's going to be like that time period in the presidential election when Mitt Romney spent June allowing him to get hammered. And once that happened, he couldn't come back.
And don't forget, going back to the very early part of the primaries, who was Rick Santorum attacking? Who was Rick Perry attacking? Who was Michelle Bachmann attacking? The front runner.
Okay. Anthony Weiner, he's got $4 million. And he seems like next week he's given us I told you, Dominic, he's going to sit down for an interview with us.
He didn't tweet that, did he?
No, stop. But my point is, there's a debate whether or not this is throwing good money after bad. Does he have any shot?
None. And here's what he should have done, and I've said this before, is that everybody, Americans are the most forgiving people there are. He made a terrible mistake, and that mistake ultimately is between him and his wife, and she seems like the most wonderful person everybody raves about her. What he should have done is run for public advocate. It would have said, I need to start at the lowest possible rung at the city level to earn the public's trust again. 4 years from now, 8 years from now, he may have been the mayor.
But let me ask you this question. Is Weiner one of the most charismatic candidates out there and one of the smartest candidates out there for mayor?
Well, I don't know. I think that charismatic. I think if you decide to drop your shorts and show everything you have on Twitter, does that make you charismatic?
Okay, but
I think at times.
No, I'm
Anthony
talking
Weiner,
about.
and
this is Quinn's biggest problem.
You know what?
This is Quinn's biggest
You know what?
problem.
I think
what's going to happen in a live situation? Remember, I moderated many of those debates.
Right, you did.
When her handlers are not there to hold her up.
Okay.
What's going to happen to Christine Quinn? Weiner has already shown.
And you know what?
Weiner he's one of the best one-liners in the business.
And you know what? And shame on us as voters, because that's what's gotten us in trouble in the past. We need people of substance to get stuff done. She has shown.
That's Christine Quinn?
Look,
Christine Quinn.
She has managed the city council.
That's Christine Quinn?
Okay. You've answered your own question.
I'm just asking a question.
Obviously,
Richard, I'm just asking a question.
To run the city council is like herding cats.
That is true. That is true.
Dominic,
but substance is Christine Quinn.
Well, Dominic, he just made the
And
point.
I like her an awful lot.
Well, obviously you don't.
But that's substance.
You've run the city council.
Right.
You've obviously worked with a mayor of a different
That
party.
the council that the feds have investigated. That council. Under your watch. Okay. That council?
Okay.
Or a different council?
The answer is yes. Anthony Weiner could be a factor if he gets in the mayor's race. Rich, back to you.
I'm with Tom. You two are delusional. Please.
See, what does that say about the fight? Maybe they enjoyed Anthony's tweets. See, we don't know what's going on here. There may be a subversive situation going on that I don't know about.
Touche. All right, we take a quick break here. We come back. We're going to talk about the other favorite subject, which is Albany, and what a hot mess that is. What could be done, if anything, to fix the capital of corruption? We're going to get into some possible solutions after this.